Yeah, look, it's a good question. I mean, I think most importantly, and a lot of people still don't recognise, there probably isn't going to be another Facebook and another Google, and probably another Amazon. These companies are big enough now, and they run themselves now, that the network effects are so strong that they can continue to snaffle out the next one that comes along. And so a good example is a company like Twitter that had 280 million active users, but ultimately that wasn't enough. Facebook has 1.3 billion daily active users. And now we have Snapchat, which is trying to move into what Facebook is doing, but ultimately Facebook has responded with Instagram, etc. And so is their 250, 280 million users going to be enough to be meaningful to advertisers out there in the marketplace? And so what I think people constantly underestimate is the network effects around a Google or a Facebook or an Amazon or even a Microsoft now are so powerful, it's very hard to break them, and really it's regulation or nothing is going to break these companies from here. That aside, if I had to point to the one next thing that comes along that will potentially has the same network effect upside and that we see in the marketplace, it's probably the video game stocks. We speak about these guys a lot, but if we look at Activision Blizzard, it's only a 37 billion market cap company. They control most of the big video game franchises in the world, not all of them. And so just as an example, they built a game recently called Overwatch. It's probably in the top 5 games in the world. And they're now selling franchises for the sports teams of Overwatches, for these Overwatch teams to play against each other. And they're selling the franchises for a lot of money. People are buying these and building Overwatch teams to play other Overwatch teams. And so it's not hard to do the maths and realise, that ultimately these guys own a sport. They own a sport like the NFL or like the NBA. And we've been talking about this for ages, but the market's now really starting to see it. And so ultimately, the call option to the upside, if that actually works, is massive. And you're talking about companies where the biggest one is only $37 billion. Think about how big the NFL is. Think about how big ESPN is. Think about how big Disney is. And think about digitally where this could go once you get virtual reality working, etc. And so ultimately, they have the IP, they have the technology, and they have the network effects. And so it could really work for them. And I don't think people are really recognising it yet. Look, ultimately, it's less than $10 million per franchise, but they're getting telecasting deals behind it. It is getting telecasted on ESPN and other sports deals. They have a whole Major League Gaming franchise within their company. And I think importantly, only Activision or EA can really do this. And the Chinese guys are slightly different, but it's only really them. It's only really the biggest. It's the same effect that you see at a Facebook or a Google. It's the same network effects around the same games that everyone will play and watch. And they're just starting it this year, but it's not hard to see the upside here. What we struggle to do is the maths as to how big it could possibly be. Well, yeah, so the great thing about the video gaming stocks is, and this is a classic case with how we look at the world. We look at the world regionally and sector unaware. The video game stocks sit in consumer discretionary. I mean, it's a really stupid sector to put them in. They are effectively going through an analog to digital revolution. That digital revolution is allowing the margin structure of these businesses to change completely. And it's really only recently that Morgan Stanley, the internet analyst, has decided to pick these up because he sees what's happening. But the stocks are very poorly covered, and they're starting to get more covered now. I think we started looking at this about 3 years ago. It's been a good investment for us. I think it's probably got a good 3 years to go.